an interesting hairdo that looks better in my mirror than it does on camera. Hello and welcome to the Mumbles and Things YouTube channel. Welcome back if you are a subscriber. Welcome if you're new here. My name is Maggie, either way. And I have been doing a series where I am just answering questions that people have submitted to me. I sent out a survey at the beginning of 2020. And obviously 2020 was kind of a weird year for a lot of us, and I totally forgot that I did this. I found it recently and I was like, hey, I should just answer these questions. And so that's what I've been doing. So I'm just doing this as a series of videos. I hope that it is helpful for people, especially new witches who are just getting started in their practice. And I'm going to continue where we left off in the previous video. If this sounds like something that you're interested in and you really want to see more videos like this, please give this video a thumbs up. That lets me know that you're enjoying this content and you want to see more of it. And it really also helps if you click subscribe and you hit that bell so that you're notified each time I upload a new video. That tells me that you like me. And that's why we're all here, isn't it? Anyway, let's get back to the questions. Where I left off, this person has a two-part question, so I'm just going to answer them separately. In your opinion, where is the best starting information found, and how can it be made easily accessible? So hey, my name's Maggie, and I create all kinds of new witch materials for you to learn from. So I think that's like the best place to find new witches information. Mumbles Academy, it's probably not open currently, depending on when you watch this video. As I'm recording, it is not quite ready for people to join. I've been redoing it completely, starting from scratch. But my hope is there's different tiers of membership, and there is a free option. And in that free option, there is several courses that are available. So I'd recommend me, but I also think that it's really important to have a diversity of sources. So I really have been enjoying reading Starhawk's books. I think that a lot of them are very beginner friendly, especially Spiral Dance. I feel like it's really a good book for beginners. It's also really good for, I've just read it recently and I've been practicing for almost 10 years. And I found it to be very valuable. So Spiral Dance is a good one. She has other books as well. I really appreciate her willingness to show her growth, to show how she's changed, to show where she was wrong in the past, where her views have changed on things. So that's one place I'd recommend going. And a lot of her books are easily found in used bookstores because like Spiral Dance, I think is 30 or 40 years old. I have it right in front of me, so I'll just look. 1979. What's that math? 42 years. So this book's 42 years old, which means that it's been around for a while, and that means it's had plenty of time to wind up in your local used bookstore. Obviously, it's also on Amazon, and I don't think that it's very expensive. And then there's tons of places to go on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, on Pinterest, whatever your favorite social media place of choice is, you can find someone to follow who is very knowledgeable and willing to teach you. And I think that's another important thing. Like I said, I think a diversity of sources is really important for keeping us safe. Unfortunately, the witchcraft community and spirituality in general is plagued by, this is too far away, I'm leaning towards it, I'm moving it. The spiritual community and witchcraft and all of that is plagued by cults, people who are your gurus, and a bastardization of that word, people who claim to be, spiritually enlightened, have all the answers, are not always doing so with the best interest of the people that they're teaching, or eventually the adoration of the people who are following them goes to their heads, and they become these like crazy people who do a lot of harm to the people who are following them. So I think it is really important to diversify the people that you're learning from. Make sure that you don't only get information from one single person or one single group. because that is how you can put yourself in the position where you might be indoctrinated into a cult or begin to fall for conspiracy thinking without evidence or proof to show that those are true things that are happening. So, if nothing else, there's tons of information out there, and make sure that you're checking it, following many people, and bouncing those ideas off of people who you trust, who can kind of verify with you about whether that's a little bit too far into the rabbit hole or, something that's still sort of grounded in reality. So you're asking how it can be made easily accessible. I'm guessing that's why I talked about the free option in Mumbles Academy. I'm guessing you're talking about that as far as monetarily accessible, because the internet is very accessible. There's anyone who has access to a computer can access the internet. Anyone who has a phone or a computer. So I think you must be talking about money, and all of those resources that I mentioned on social media. Those are free. I don't necessarily want to recommend Amazon, but there is a program on Amazon with Kindle where I think it's like $10 a year and you get unlimited ebooks. And it's not every ebook, but there's many that participate. I think my book is part of that program. You can get my book as part of the Kindle Unlimited program. And there's a lot of other witchcraft books in that program as well. So $10 a year, that's not too bad, even though it is Amazon. But, sometimes if you have to budget that way, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Hopefully that answers the question. This is a weird hairstyle. I don't know. It's like flopping. Why is it flopping? So this one's asking, how do you find balance and time to connect with yourself? It goes on to ask, how do you let go of what's weighing you down so that you can believe with your all? Okay, so those are kind of two parts, but I do think they go together. So how do you find balance and time to connect with yourself? I've talked about this a lot before, but I think just viewing magic as not something that's separate from mundane activities. Things you do in your day-to-day life are magic, especially if you put your intention into them. So if you are reading a book, if you're making time for that, setting the intention of enriching your mind, setting the intention of learning something new, of exploring other ideas, of opening yourself up to different perspectives. All of those could be intentions when it comes to reading, and that's magical. I've talked about cooking, incorporating your intention into the food that you're making. If you're making cookies and you plan to maybe share them with your neighbors or your coworkers, putting in your love or putting in goodwill or harmony, anything that you would want between that kind of relationship, putting that intention into the cookies and then giving that to the people that you are sharing them with. And some people will talk about consent in this case, and I do think it's important to at least bring it up, because some people would say that cooking and giving that magical intention to somebody without their permission, not without telling them that you did that, is unethical. And I'm not going to make any judgments about whether that's true or not. I personally don't think that it is unethical. So that's my personal opinion. Again, I'm not making a judgment over whether or not it is. That's just what I believe. I think, if you're cooking for a spouse, or if you make cookies for your coworkers, you're already putting that intention into it. So I don't think it's necessarily a requirement to tell the person that you put the intention of having a harmonious relationship. Like, just so you know, these cookies are harmony cookies. I mean, you can if you want. I think I just wouldn't feel comfortable saying that. So that's really up to you. That's your own judgment call about whether or not you want to make sure that you share that information with someone else. Going back to the question though, how do you balance your time and connect with yourself? I think if you're doing something already, just adding a small intention before that is one way to decrease the amount of time that you really have to commit to your magical practice. I don't think that everything has to be an elaborate ritual. I think the more that we do the simple, small things, not instead of the bigger rituals, but in addition to, and I feel like those smaller things enhance the bigger rituals or solidify more than anything. They make it continuous. So it's not a long period of time in between your bigger rituals where you do more elaborate activities. Maybe you change the way you're dressed, maybe you do use more tools, just more ritualistic things. If there's a long time in between that, doing the little things in between can create that continuity. There's like a line that connects them. So that's one thing. I think that's really the main thing of balancing time. Of course, you said your question is how to find balance and time to connect with yourself, which is not really about magic. So I guess expanding on that with just specifically with yourself, because in some ways I see those as one and the same. You are your magic and your magic is you, or at least that's how I feel. This kind of goes into like the idea of self-care. Self-care is really important to a witch. It's important to everyone, but for witches too, specifically, which is what we're talking about, practicing self-care is how you refill your cup. Let me see. I'm going to show you a card. This is the Modern Witch? I think this is the Modern Witch deck. Yeah. This is the Modern Witch deck, and this is the Ace of Cups. And the reason I bring it out is because I see this as the self-care card. But you see that cup is overflowing, and a cup can't overflow if it's not filled up. So you have to fill up your cup, and then you can overflow your cup into other people's cups. So I guess that just like thinking about that analogy is how I prioritize taking care of myself. I want to take care of other people, my cats, my husband, my family. And if I don't have that, if I don't fill myself up, I won't be able to. I mean, that's not the only reason to want to care for yourself. You should want to care for yourself for, your own reasons, because you deserve to be cared for. But it also helps when I know that people depend on me, especially cats. They depend on me to feed them, to play with them, to clean their litter box, to keep them safe, all of that stuff. And if I'm not taking care of myself, they won't be cared for, or they won't be cared for to the extent that they deserve. So I think it sometimes can be helpful to just remember that other people might be dependent on you. Anyway, that just helps me to think about it in those terms, that I need to take care of myself. So I don't know if that answers the question. How do you find balance and time to take care of yourself or to connect with yourself? And I guess I just wanted to talk about that because that's not even the question you asked. You asked about connecting with yourself. But even so, I hate this hair. It's so floppy. Okay. So let's just finish up with that second part of the question. How do you let go of what's weighing you down so that you can believe with your all? The way that question's worded, how do you let go of what's weighing you down so that you can believe with your all? That feels really like there's a lot of weight to it. It feels sort of loaded. It basically is implying that you can't believe with your all if you have any sort of weight, like anything that's weighing you down, messing with your head. And I don't think that's true. So that's kind of why I'm having a hard time answering this question. There's always going to be times where it's almost like it's spiritual. It's almost like it's trying to do spiritual bypassing. The idea that you can't believe with your all if you have any sort of heaviness. And the way I'm reading heaviness, like maybe this isn't the way this person intended it, but the way I'm reading heaviness is like negativity, sadness, depression, anger, any of those kind of like heavier emotions that can like be weighing you down. And also like beliefs that are untrue about yourself, like limiting beliefs, things that limit you, those can weigh you down. But again, I don't think that having those things, having heavy emotions, having limiting beliefs prevents you from believing with your all. I guess that's how I want to answer the question, is that I don't think that that should be the goal. That sounds a lot like blind faith, believing with your all. Because like I said before, I can't remember if it was this video or a previous one, but I was talking about skepticism. Having blind faith, believing with your all, doesn't leave that much room for being skeptical or for having ideas that, or, questioning things, being curious. I don't know, maybe I'm reading this question wrong, but it just feels I guess I don't like the way it's worded. It's making me feel like it's sort of like limiting me. So maybe I'll just answer the question I want to answer. So you don't have to believe with your all in order for your magic to work. You can believe with your sum or your fraction. And having things that weigh you down is not a bad thing, always. Sometimes it just happens, and it's okay. There's a lot of reasons why that might happen, and we might never really understand why we have that heaviness. I just don't think getting rid of it is the goal, or letting it go. With that said, you can release things that you feel like are holding you back to an extent. There's certain things that you can change your mindset about, that you can evaluate your beliefs and make sure that they're actually things that you want to believe. Here's an example from myself. I've talked about having ADHD a lot, but in elementary school, I was in the talented and gifted program, which it's called different things, different places, but I was really supported in that program because somebody saw something in me, that I was driven to learn, that I was curious, and that I wanted to learn more than the curriculum allowed for me. So I was given that opportunity. But then when I was in middle school, I had some residual support. I had some residual like drivenness. And then by high school, I was not motivated at all. I didn't have any support. I mean, I had just like I went to a really good school, so I'm not saying that. I had really good teachers and they did their best. But I had this undiagnosed challenge with the way that my brain worked, and I wasn't able to function at the same level that I did when I was a kid. I was always told I was so smart, so curious, and those were always like really encouraged in me. And then by the time I got in high school, people weren't telling me I was smart anymore because I wasn't getting really good grades anymore. I was getting like C's and occasionally D's. And so I no longer had that positive reinforcement of being told I was smart. And that changed the way that I viewed myself. I didn't see myself as a smart person anymore for a long time, even though I technically was smart. I technically knew the things I was supposed to know. I just was a bad test taker, and I didn't have the same support structures that would keep me getting the grades. And we don't have to get into the value of grades and whether they're worth anything, but then later on in life, I decided that I was smart again. I decided that I was a smart person, and obviously my parents were very supportive this whole time. They always told me I was smart. So it wasn't that. It was just like the system was telling me that I wasn't actually smart, and so it was almost like I'd been lied to, and I never was smart to begin with, and they were just saying that to be nice or whatever. But then again, later on in life, I decided that I was smart and that I was capable of these things and I could learn, and I changed the way I saw myself again. So throughout, elementary school, middle school, high school, and then early adulthood, I had different perceptions of my smartness, whether or not I was smart. And that's how you can change your beliefs. You can change the way that you see yourself at different times in your life. And the way you see yourself might be changed by some external circumstance that you're not even aware of. And so you can evaluate those things that you feel like are holding you back. Like for me, I felt like I was being held back because I didn't see myself as a smart person. So then I reflected on that. When did I decide I wasn't smart? Who told me that? Why did that become my belief? I decided it wasn't true. I decided I am smart. I worked to establish that, to show evidence of why I'm smart, why I can do the things in my life that I want to do. So it's just a process of evaluating where that belief came from, seeing if there was any evidence to prove that that belief was true, finding that there wasn't evidence for that belief, finding a new belief that I wanted to be how I saw myself and how I saw my life, and finding evidence to support that new belief. So that's how you let go of what's weighing you down. That's how you let go of any sort of heaviness that weighs you down. And that might get you to a place where you can believe with your all, if that's the goal for whoever is asking this question. That was kind of a long answer for this question, and I answered the question I wanted to answer rather than what was asked, but it's my channel, so I get to do what I want. I think we can leave it here for now because that was longer than I was expecting, and I'll see you in the next video. If you enjoyed this video, please leave me a thumbs up. Let me know that you liked it. Leave a comment if you'd like as well. And I will see you in the next video.